Most players think that live poker is easier than online poker, but that's only half of the story. If you play online the same way that you play live, you will probably lose. And if you play live the same way you play online, you will also lose. Today we are going to compare everything: skill level, structures, bankroll, variance, volume, mindset, everything. By the end, you will know exactly where you should spend your time. Disclaimer, I just played live yesterday, so I play online most of the time, but this time I played live, so I have some huge information, new information that I will share with you today. Okay, let's dive in. So the biggest difference that nobody talks about between the live and online is first that they are almost different games. So different information available. You have different information on your opponents. On online also you have some HUDs, some heads-up displays that help you take some info, and it opposes to the physical tells. Other things is the pace. You play less hands. There's less attention required or differences here. And then also the decision frequency, so you play less decisions when you are live. The key point that I really want to emphasize here is that live rewards patience and that online rewards precision. So to go a bit more in details with this, I will talk about the structures and I will talk about what I found out yesterday in my tournaments, online in the live tournament. So for example, first the online, it's faster levels. Often if you play on Winamax, GG Poker or other platforms, it will be levels that are between 7 to 11 minutes. So the blinds increase faster. There's ante also in every player. So every player puts an ante. It changes how you should play the big blind and the small blind. So I will do a bit aparte, a bit on the side of that. That when you play live and there's like big blind becomes big blind is double. So you have to put the big blind plus the ante is the big blind. Means that you have to defend way more with your big blind. So there's hands that are fold normally that will become calls in this situation. So the big blind needs to defend way more. Also, what else is that you, in a tournament online, often, it depends, but often the structures are a bit lower. So you are lower in blinds, deep. And so you need to take more aggression, or you need to take more spots. Compared to the live, live you are a bit more deep stacks. What else? You have longer levels. So yesterday it was levels of 30 minutes in my live tournament, but there was also another tournament where it was 40 minutes levels. There's also a bit more post-flop, especially if you are way better than the opponents, if you are professional compared to people that are beginners or amateurs. You are less inclined to try to jam a lot of big blinds before pre-flop, and you want to play a bit more post-flop. Yeah, there's a bit more room to exploit because the mistakes of the opponents are bigger. So when the mistakes of the opponents are bigger, it means that you should also choose plays that if the plays is like EV0 or doesn't make you win a lot of EV, then there are so many good choices a part of this one that you can skip those spots. You can skip those little differences in EV if it makes you take more risk, or it makes you play more blinds, jam more blinds into the pot. Something else also, an online tournament, it often lasts between 6 and 10 hours. So depending on your schedule, you're not required to play for 5 days or 2 to 5 days for a live tournament. So if you have something else to do tomorrow, or you have you cannot be here for the next day, for the second day for the tournament, then you should choose to play online. There's a bit more freedom in this aspect that you can choose when you play. It also changes the strategy, because if you find players that are really weak at the start, sometimes players want to start early in online tournaments, But in general, in live tournaments, there's EV to start a bit later. I will not come too much into details today with this, but if the tournament is really long and you can still have a lot of EV, even a short stack, then you can just jump in a tournament a bit later and make more money this way. How many hands do you actually play? This really matters for several aspects. So, for example, if you play live, normally it's between 20 and 30 hands an hour. You really don't play a lot, especially if you are card dead. Sometimes it can happen. It can last for 2-3 hours. So you should really be aware of this, and you should be really patient. Sorry. If you don't have any hands, you should just fold. You should just stick to your ranges, and don't become too loose as you play pots with hands that are not good enough. Something else with the online depends on how many tables you play. If you play only like 1 to 2 tables, it will be 70 to 100 hands per hour. So it's already 3 times more, at least 2 to 3 times more. But if you are a professional, often professional, they will play more than 8 tables. So it depends. If you play like average buy-in over 50 or over 100, often some players will play closer to 8 tables. But for professionals that are playing low stakes or mid stakes, in general, what I see is that they play between 12 and 18 tables. Because the decisions are a bit softer. They don't have too many battles against regs, so they can just play more tables and increase their win rate, hourly win rate. So they win more per hour playing more tables. Even if it decreases a bit the ROI playing more tables, it increases your hourly win rate. So you have to make a trade with this. And what is really important with this, different in sample size, is that when you play online, you acquire way more skills. So if you are willing to become the best or to get closer to the best in the world, the best way for me is to improve, is do your reps, like with the gym, do your reps online. Because you can make way more reps, you can make way more mistakes and learn from your mistakes. So this is really a key important fact if you want to improve and if you want to be one day probably among the best in the world. And that's why also I chose to play online first and to make my money online, is because I think you just learn way faster. And even if you make less ROI, we will talk about this a bit later. Even if you make less ROI, you still make a ton of money, and with a ton of lessons that you learn along the way. The player pool now, we are going to talk a bit more about this. Online, it's past a certain level, past a certain average buy-in, past a certain buy-in level, I would say. There are some completely beginners, but they are few. There are always players that have quite a start, a beginning of a knowledge. There are players that play regularly, so they don't make the usual mistakes often. They don't make the easy mistakes that you can find in the live. You can have a lot of information also with the heads-up display. What is important with heads-up display is that you can also afterwards analyze your game, and this makes it really important if you want to improve. Analyze your game after your sessions. This is one of the key things also that I teach to my students. Really analyze your games after your games. There's a lot of databases, so it's the same databases. It's all the hands that you collect, and after you try to understand, okay, how do I play compared to the best? And this really makes you progress a ton. And there's also regulars. So regulars is often either semi-professional or professional, and they will be way tougher to play against. You will have to be more precise, and you cannot make the same mistakes that will just be, I would say, not even punished in the live scene. They will not even punish your mistakes in the live scene, so you can make some mistakes, and they won't even notice it, and they won't even push you around. For the live now, often it's businessmen or it's uh, players that are recreational. They just love the game. They just love to have fun. They want to have a good time, and you can really see it in their game also. They will be way more emotional. They will also show you what they think. Yesterday again, I had several tales. I could, of course, I could see. I will give you some clear example because I have some in mind, and this is fresh in my mind. So some of the key things that happened yesterday is that one of the players had like a pocket kings opens really UTG really opens early position, and he faces a jam from the big blind from a guy that has like 20 big blinds, and uh, and he really thinks about it. He really thinks about it. He says, okay, maybe I'm not sure about my decision. When in general, every player that plays online knows this is a snap call because the player will jam less than your hands and you are way above the range, the opponent's range. You should even call pocket 10, pocket 9s often, pocket 8 even in this spot. So pocket kings is way higher than this. And it was so funny. And also I did a sizing tell. So I knew he had a big hand from the start. Another time that I played with him, just after, he also opened. I was just left of his position, so he was another run of table. He was UTG, and I was UTG +1, and he also did a big sizing of open. I had pocket queens and 9 players at the table. I wasn't even sure that I beat his range with pocket queens. So what I decided to do is to flat. There's after another guy that decided to flat again. There was a squeeze. He folded. The guy UTG folded, and then I decided to jam, and I jammed for my pocket queens, but I won the flip. He had ace king, the guy that squeezes. But just to remind you that yeah, you can make some deviation because there are some typical information, really precise information that you can get from them. They give a lot of information about how they play, and they just give you everything. Something else, also something else that happened. The same guy, there was like a spot button against big blind, and the same guy on a board, sorry, a paired board, he folded ace king on a ace 4-4 c bet, and ace 4-4 board, and he folded against a small c bet with ace king. So there was a lot of things like this, but this is only one player. There was also other players that had huge tendencies that played completely incredible lines that absolutely don't exist online. And this is why, if you are talking about ROI, the ROI in live games is way higher. Now we'll do another segment. What skills matter most? So for example, if you want to play online, you should have normally a knowledge of theory. It's not to apply theory often, but it's just to deviate from it. Sorry, but in order to deviate, you should already know the theory or should know at least the basis of the theory. There's also ranges that you should know. Same with ranges. Ranges are not static. They evolve, especially in tournaments. They evolve with the differences in ICM, in stack depth, in stack repartition around the table. So you should not be too static about ranges. And this will make you way more money if you are trying to understand how do I adapt my range in this spot on this other spot. You should know, or you should know past another level. I would say average buy-in maybe 20, 50. You should also know a bit how a solver works and how to use the solvers. So there are some that are even cheap or free. I will give you one, for example, Equilab is for me is considered a solver. I don't know if the category is really if other regs call it solver, but it's one of the tools that I use the most. It helps you just identify a range of the opponents and just try to understand the equity. It's free. You can check the online. You can type Equilab and you find the website for free. So it's one of the best tools for aspiring professionals to use. And this is one of the key tools that I used to really understand the equity and how to play, how to do the best decisions in poker, because poker just comes down to this, taking the best decisions. Lot more volume, lot more discipline also in online. You should be really focused. You should really be patient, but patient with steady. Sorry, be really steady. Your emotions should not take too much place, because you never know when you have a deep run. So you should always be prepared to perform at the highest level. And most of the time you will bust early, or you will not make or you will only cash a minimum. But it's only if you progress in the last bits of the tournament, in the where the money counts, that you will really make a lot of money playing online. There's also a lot of multi-tabling. So if you play at especially low stakes, you want to be a professional, you want to make a good amount of money, you should do multi-tabling quite heavily. And you can progress with this. It's the same. Right now I play, so I have a big screen here. So I can play like 18 tables to 20 tables. But even if I have a portable displays, I can still play like between 12 and 14 tables, no problem. So you just improve after time, and you just improve your multi-tabling skills. The live, there's only one table. There's a lot of observation. You make a lot of observation. The best observation, I would say, is not with profiling, because for me it was difficult. So maybe I'm just a beginner in live tournaments, so that's why it's a bit more difficult. But I don't really guess the profile of players if I just analyze their body, or if I just analyze their how they are at the table, or how they look at the table. But what is really interesting is how the hands unfold. When you see a showdown and you see a player that showed you a crazy line, you can really understand how he thought in this moment, and this gives you the most amount of information. So for example, to come back to the player that tanked with Pocket Kings, if you can see a player doing this, it means two things. Either first is quite scared, and also is quite tight often. So against him, you will have to adapt. You will have to choose different paths and different decisions along the way, so you don't make the biggest mistakes. What else? Yeah, there's also an emotional control, but it's more over long days. So sometimes you can relax. Sometimes you can just chill. If you don't have any hands, you just lie down, chill, and you just wait for another hand to come. There's a lot of timing tails. There's a lot of speech also. A lot of tails. Some of them I'm not really good at. For example, speech. I haven't worked too much on this. And timing tails, I'm quite good online, but live, I only apply the same principles that I have already learned online. Yeah, and so that's why the best online player isn't automatically the best live player. There's some adaptation to do. But in general, we say that the online players are way better in average than to the live player. So if you are really good at online player, you should do well in live player, but it doesn't mean you will be the best. There's still a difference. Now there's a huge part with variance and bankroll. So with online, you play a huge volume. If you are a professional, I discussed with another professional yesterday, he did 1,000 MTTs a month. So it means 10 to 12 K tournaments a month. A year. I do personally between it's between 4 and 6,000 tournaments a year. Last year I did this, and this year I don't know, maybe a bit less because I was traveling a bit more. So this volume is quite huge when you compare it to players that are play live, that will probably do like 100 maximum 150 tournaments in a whole year. So there's a big gap between the two. There's lower ROI also online. To be roughly speaking, mid stakes, the with the big fields, because with big fields you have a bit more ROI. The most amount of ROI that you will have is probably 50%. 50% is what you can get, 50, maybe 60% if you choose even better your tournament and you are really good with table selection. But you cannot go above 50 or 60% ROI. And most of the regs of the professionals are around 30% of ROI. So ROI is 30%, especially if you get to the best levels, if you get to high stakes. Often long term, if you have 30% ROI, you are already doing well. There's also a smoother graph over time. So if when you play small buy-ins, you play small buy-ins and you make also often smaller wins than in live. Then you just have to adjust your curve, your winnings will be way more linear. I will just do a little on the side with tournaments and how do you choose the buy-in of the tournaments if you are playing live. Just try to think how much do you spend in an online session. So if it's between 600 and 1K, then you should choose in general buy-ins live that are roughly this amount. So this helps you choose the correct buy-in. The live for the live part, higher ROI. I'm almost sure that some players can go between 80 and 100% for the best players. Even more maybe for the long term. I have less knowledge on the live, so I'm not sure about what is the actual limit of the ROI that you can really observe over a long sample. But the sample is so small, the sample is so small that if you have like one or two really big wins, it can change a lot in your gameplay. And yeah, it really makes a huge difference in your ROI. But also there's massive short-term swings. When you don't play a lot of buy-ins, you can drop like 10, 50 buy-ins, with no consequence on just how good you play. Just pure variance, pure time that you have to play on the tables. Online often depends on how deep you are playing and how much you are playing the number of hands that you are playing. Often, I would advise to be between if you play small fields, maybe 250 to 300 buy-ins, and if you play big fields, you can go to 500 buy-ins. It's a bit more secure, and it will help you in the times that you because you can lose 100 or 200 buy-ins normally. But in live, often if you have like 50 buy-ins, it's already a lot. Most players in live are under-rolled, so it means they don't have the roll to play the tournaments at the stack they are playing. But another way to solve this problem is to be stacked. So some part of the tournaments is paid by sponsors or friends or people that want to take action, and then they know they are good, so they want to take a piece of their winnings and a little bit of their action. Yeah. So the higher the ROI is, the less, and also the smaller the fields are, and the less you require buy-ins. But you should really check a bit in general to not be too tight on your number of buy-ins, because you can go broke even if you play well. And another topic that is huge for me is the lifestyle. So online, you can work from everywhere, anywhere. There's a lot of countries that are really flexible, that let you play online. It's really convenient. It's really fun to play online. You can just have your routine. You just have the same habits. And if you are a winning player, just you grind on yourself. You work on yourself, and you really put a lot of volume and you really improve that way. The cons, I would say, is probably that you are a bit isolated. So it's difficult to really do to have an entourage. Often the people that you meet, the online players, the good players that you meet are online friends. I would say you meet them on platforms like Discord is really famous for French speaking players. But if you are English, maybe you can go on Reddit or other platforms, or also via other people that they're coaching, so you know other players from there. And often you are a bit far from the people that you play with, and that's why sometimes to improve it can be a bit lonely. You can be a bit isolated, and you can feel also a burnout because you grind a lot of volume and you don't see many humans, so it's a bit difficult for humans to be able to always deal with this. It's always also long hours often. Depends on the time zone, but often you are playing when the other part of the city around you is finishing work. So it means that it's not the same hours of grind as them, and you should really take it to account this. For the pros, for the live, it's way more social. I really had fun yesterday. It was really nice. I met some people that are professional that play also there, but I also met some just people at the table that were really friendly. Even if I don't speak much at the table, um, it's really nice to have people just chatting, having fun, and that really love the game. They don't obsess over making the perfect play, over making the perfect decision. They just try to have fun, and this is something that I have to work on because I'm a bit too obsessed on taking the best decision often, and to just improve. And sometimes just to relax a bit more is nice. So I would say it's really a good point of view to play sometimes live just to relax, to see the fun, to see the social aspect of poker. If you play live and if you are playing already like big buy-ins, you can also travel a bit more. You have to travel around. You can play the WSOP, the EPT, the Triton, maybe one day. I hope one day, the biggest tournaments. The cons will be probably the hotels, the flights, the delays, the expenses. All of this adds up really quickly when you are playing live. So you should really be aware of how much to track your expenses and be sure that you are covered, and you take those into account. When you're playing online, you have the same setup, little or no expenses, and you can just grind uh, everything online. And now maybe one of the questions that uh, will impact you the most, that you are maybe more aware of, is which one that you are really willing to, sorry, to know the answer, is which one makes more money. And this is probably the chapter that you are more concerned about. So online, often you have higher hourly if you are elite or disciplined, if you are more consistent. Live, you have more higher ROI, as we said. You can make massive scores, big scores. There's a lower amount of volume. And that the expected value is not about just ROI. So if I give you an example, yeah, so if you want to know about the expected value, just multiply the ROI by the average buy-in that you play and the number of tournaments that you play. So if you play 2,000 or 5,000 tournaments a year, and if you multiply the three aspects, the three components, you will know the expected amount of money that you are going to win in average. And if you have a like 20 or 30% ROI with 100 times more tournaments, then you have to take this into account and just compare it to like 80% ROI with live tournaments that are like 40 to 100 maximum tournaments per year. So often, if you are professional, I would advise, if you are playing tournaments, to play most online and to play some tournaments live. If you have, it depends also on your bankroll. So if you are starting, the best way to start is to play online. You will make more money playing online if you are between 0 and 50K of bankroll. If you are above this, maybe between 50 and 100, you can start to mix a bit of live games. And if you are again above this, then you can just choose a bit how you want. You are not too pressured by the financial aspect, and you can just choose which one you like the most, depending on your style. So yeah, a bit more information on how you should choose. So if you want to choose online, you have to know that if you choose online, if you want to improve quickly, so it will be that you want to improve quickly, you want to study also, you want to study the game, you want to improve in the game, you enjoy the theoretical aspect, not, for example, not to play theoretical, but at least to know what it is the theoretical play, and then you can deviate if you want. And you like also playing often, so you like to grind a lot. If you like to grind a lot, then online is also better for you. And you can choose live if you want a bit more social interaction, if you like the social aspect of it. If you have also a local casino, so if you have a casino that is next to where you live, it's easier to play a lot of of live tournaments. If you dislike also multi-tabling, if you dislike having multiple tables at the same time, it's better to play live for you. And if you want softer fields, if you want to play against softer opponents and don't have to think too much about your decisions, then also playing live is better for you. So the best option, I would say, is to combine both to get the best of the both worlds. But depending on you, the ratio of how much you play live and how much you play online really depends on you. Depends on how much you need social aspect, how much you want softer fields, how much you want to grind. Everything has to take into account. You know now the pros and cons of each one, and you just have to know which, with your current situation, which one makes the most amount of sense. And yeah, so to end the video, the online poker often builds skills. Live poker rewards those skills. So the live poker is where you make them real big money, but the online poker is where you grind and where you learn how to be ready to make this big money. And then you can just ask yourself, which one do you prefer and why? And just let me know in the comments if you have any other takes. If you like this video, subscribe as always. I will do more videos every week. Maybe I will try to do 3 videos a week on this channel. I already have also a French channel if you are French speaking called Luna Poker. So you can check out also, there's a lot of analysis videos. And otherwise, I will see you in another video. If you want to work with me, if you want to learn faster, you want to have a one-on-one coaching, there's all the information in the description. Feel free to fill it up. And otherwise, I will see you in another video. Bye-bye.